Well, hi.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, rabbis.
Hey.
It's good to see you.
It's good to
Good to
see
see you
you. I think we're
too.
in the same. I think we're in the same building right now, Rabbi.
Oh my gosh, that's kind of amazing. And on the same side, we're
Yeah,
just, oh,
distanced enough, but still with love.
I have to say that this time of year, especially, I don't know, did you guys see the moon last night? Like how it's just,
Stunning.
it is getting close to full. It is waning and it is really actually by the time this airs, it might be full. And as I was looking at it, I I was like, oh, here we are, and here we are. And so because it means that we're almost in the middle of Elul,
Yeah.
just before the high holidays. And so here we are in this time where we're supposed to be turning even before we get to the holy days, already turning inward to see what's going on in there. What's going on in our souls. Like this is the time where we do that cheshbon nefesh, where we do this kind of taking account of the soul, and also where we're trying to turn inward to see the best in ourselves and also turn outward and try to be our best self in the world, and knowing that we have a little time before we get to Rosh Hashanah, before we get to Yom Kippur. So this is the time to do that kind of work with a little less pressure than we have when it gets closer in Tishrei. So one of the ways that I love to get myself nice and prepared for this time is by reading Psalm 27. And I don't know if any of you are in that practice of reading Psalm 27, but it feels like it really has like the whole vast experience of what it is to be human, of coming out with such confidence when you're young, and then having the world beat you up a bit and having to like kind of figure out what am I doing now and losing the footing, and then still saying, and yet I still want to have faith that I am going to see the goodness of this world. And I think that that's why it was chosen to be the psalm that we read during the month of Elul, because there's this one line in, I think it's in verse 13 of the psalm, where it says, Lule ha'amanti lir'ot b'tuv Adonai be'eretz chaim. And it means literally like, if I didn't have faith that I would still see the goodness of God in this world, in the land of the living, and like that, and I love that it's still in a question, that it wasn't like so easy to say like I have faith in this. It's if I didn't still have faith, and the notion is that lule is Elul backwards. And so this is the time to turn ourselves to be able to say, yes, I do have faith that I will see the goodness of God in the land of the living. And I love that idea of it's up to us to look for it. We are out to look out and see it, and also to turn ourselves in such a way that we can have that kind of faith. And I wanted to ask you, what do you do for that kind of faith? Like, are there things where you're finding yourself kind of doing that pivot, that turn? And where do you look when you're looking to have that kind of faith that can withstand the kind of beating up that life does to us, certainly in these days?
That I'm thinking about in this is also just my approach to God, in that we all have our own individual ways that we have our individual relationships. And for me, I really fall more into that Buber, bit of Heschel in there as well. But this God that exists when two people come face to face and they see each other and they respect each other and they see their humanity in each other. That I, thou God. And so when I look at this, I'm really thinking about had I not the assurance that I would enjoy the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living. The next sentence says, look to the Lord, be strong and of good courage. And I think there's a balance there between that human aspect and that looking to God aspect. Because it says, look to God for your strength. And I do. but I also look so much to those people who embody God for my strength as well. So it really reminds me of the passage before the Amidah in the Friday night service, which says, pray as if everything depended on God, act as if everything depended on you. And so whereas in this time, I'm very much like looking to God to like, there's a lot on our plate. There's a lot going on. There's a lot to look back on my last year and look forward and be like, oh my God, what is going to happen in my next year? And knowing that it's on me. It's on me to make my small world better and my larger world better. That's where I am with this.
Rabbi Conover, so you mentioned Psalm 27, and I was very grateful to you because when we did our little meditation earlier today, it gave me a chance to be reminded of that beautiful text as we were singing that Achat Sha'alti. And the truth is that as you and I have been sitting and going through the sacred music of High Holy Days and the liturgy, my faith, like, it kind of starts to sparkle again, you know, because I'm turning back to a routine and I'm turning my focus on something very specific and I'm turning my gaze on my rabbinic colleagues, but I also feel like I'm completely spinning. It's crazy. It's a turning, it's like this. And so I have found it very grounding and affirming, faith affirming, to hear the High Holy Day modes, to hum them as we hum them to each other, and to remember that the old school modes still work, and they work better than anything else.
I mean, like, that's for me part of what's been so, for me too, that is kind of what stops me spinning. It's so grounding. And when we go through those melodies that we do every year, some of them that we do, you know, now at Temple Sholem, some that we did a long time ago at Sholem, some that were like, it's just, it's like that one kind of like cleansing deep breath that just constantly comes. I love it. Yeah.
I've been enjoying it. So that, I mean, honestly, that takes me back to my faith.
Yes.
You know? Yeah. It's a revival.
Yeah, I love that so much. I mean, I think that music in particular is such a helpful way to enter in, and I love that you find the that familiarity in the old modes. And I think I've been finding that same sense of familiarity, especially when so much is in change and so much is in flux. Just in any music that really feels familiar and comfortable, that I just want to listen to over and over again right now. Because I think that faith is like such a, I don't know if triggering is the right word, but faith is a hard word for a lot of people. And so I love that image of Elul flipping on itself back and forth from Elul to Lule. And I was kind of imagining, like, you know, those things that spin around because of the weather, like because of the wind.
Like a weather vane?
Yeah, exactly. Like in Mary Poppins, you know, the wind is blowing to the east, and it's blowing to the west. And just, I don't know, I think that image is so nice of saying, like, you know, it's okay when we flip sometimes. It's okay that we feel doubt. It's okay that we, you know, sometimes feel strong sense of faith and sometimes don't. But we have this thing centering us in the middle as we're kind of flipping around. And maybe that thing is music, or that thing is the old high holiday modes, or our relationships and friendships and that kind of thing. But I think that's what I'm thinking about, what's centering me in that flipping of Elul and Lule.
Yeah, I love it. And, you know, and I love that when we're talking about like that in some ways we spin a bit, and in some ways we spin and then we land right where we need to be. And so that we go from Lule to Elul, and then boom, we're just here. Or we know that we're going to spin, and then we're saying, you know what, I'm going to go with that spin, because sometimes that's what I need to do, is just go with it. I love that we as a, you know, as a clergy team, and then we as a larger community, we're with each other through that. And that in itself is grounding, and being able to hear these melodies again as a community. Like I think part of what preparing for the high holidays is it's almost like this free vicarious joy, knowing that we're all going to be going through it together. And part of what I love also, Rabbi Gelman, when you mentioned the end, is the word is kaveh el Adonai, which is, it's translated sometimes as look to Adonai, but kaveh is from tikva, you know, to have hope. And I love that it's to have hope, but then where do we look for that hope? We don't necessarily always look, you know, like above or around, but chazak va'ametz libecha, that I have, be strong and good courage, but it's be strong and have this centering of heart, that, you know, like this strengthening of heart, and so I love that the psalmist is talking to you and talking to me, like, you know, be strong in your heart. Know that, you know, if you need to spin a bit, spin. If you find where you need to be and feel grounded, but either way, there's this tikva, there's this hope, and there's also this knowing that it's right here in our hearts waiting for us to embrace. So with that, I have to say thank you. Thank you, all of you. And it was
Rabbis.
And thank you for putting Achat Shalti in my head, because that's going to be there for a while. Have a good week, everyone.